My next guest is Joel Richardson, as I promised you. Joel's a good friend of mine. He helped me with my latest book, The Rabbi Who Found Messiah, and provided some interesting insight, and you can read his insight in that book. But he is a New York Times best-selling author. He is an internationally recognized teacher and expert on Bible prophecy and the Middle East. Joel lived for a long time in Israel and Egypt and Jordan and connected to some bigwigs over there. He's the author or the co-author or the co-editor of the following books: Mideast Beast, The Scriptural Case for an Islamic Antichrist. I own that book. Fascinating. And then another book entitled Islamic Antichrist, The Shocking Truth About the Real Nature of the Beast. I own that book and have read it. Great book. Another book, God's War on Terror, Islam, Prophecy, and the Bible. And another book, Why We Left Islam, Former Muslims Speak Out. Joel has been featured on or written for numerous radio, television, and news outlets across the world, including the Glenn Beck Show, the Mike Huckabee Show, the Gordon Liddy Show, the Dennis Miller Show. Good gracious, it goes on and on and on. You can find him at the 3 W's, joelstrumpet.com. joelstrumpet.com. That's JOELSTRUMPET. joelstrumpet.com. Joel Richardson, welcome to Freedom Friday.
Carl, good to be on with you.
Well, it's good to be on with you, too. I enjoy talking to you over the phone, but I love it when we can get together over the radio, and I'm so glad that you took time out to be with us today. Listen, there's so much going on in the Middle East and around the world, and America's connection to it all, and Israel, and now Russia moving in on the Ukraine, and, I mean, man, we're living in prophetic times, aren't we?
Absolutely. I think it's fair to say that we very well may be the generation that will see the return of Jesus.
Well, you know, and I know you're not a date setter, and neither am I, but I agree with you, and I say that all the time. And if we're not the generation, Joel, I'm convinced that the generation after us will, and that we are the trumpet blowers for that generation. It's got to be soon. I mean, because of all the biblical prophecies that either have been fulfilled only in our lifetime or are being fulfilled right before our eyes. Before we go, I want you to comment on this, because you wrote a brilliant piece on it, and a lot of people have been reading or hearing little snippets about it. But tell us your take on these 529 Muslim Brotherhood operatives who are scheduled to be put to death in Egypt. What is all that about? I know that Arab Spring was kind of the Muslim Brotherhood uprising, but Egypt has kind of done a little about face. Give us the latest details. What's the inside scoop on all of that?
Sure. Well, essentially, you had the first Egyptian revolution, and they threw off Mubarak and the Scarfs, which is the supreme, allied forces there, the military, and they put in the Muslim Brotherhood, and they're, of course, the radical Muslims. Then after about a year of putting up with them, realizing that it was horrendous cronyism, the people were suffering, it was only the Muslim Brotherhood that were getting all of the contracts and the kickbacks and these sort of things, the people rose up, and there was a second revolution. We were in Cairo this summer, about 2 weeks before the second revolution broke out, meeting with various leaders, really the largest Arab pastor in the world. There in Cairo, various leaders, and they threw off the Muslim Brotherhood. And now what we've seen since that time has been what I believe is the fulfillment of a prophecy that very few people are looking to, which is Isaiah 19, verse 2. And so it speaks of a civil war coming to Egypt, and in fact that whole chapter really lays out what I believe we'll see in the years ahead in Egypt. And so right now you have, for the first time in history, conditions which even the Egyptian leaders are saying we are now seeing the beginnings of the fulfillment of the civil war in Egypt spoken of by the prophet Isaiah. And so you have this clash between the Islamists and those that want that want a more moderate, or even the Christians who certainly don't want an Islamist government. And the bloody clash that's taking place in Egypt now, I believe, is only going to get worse. And it has been bloody already. I mean, it's significant that whole country is deeply divided. Yeah,
well, that's amazing stuff, Joel. So when you were in Cairo, did you smell it in the air? Were people talking about it? I mean, because you were there 2 weeks before it actually happened, the revolution. Did you feel it coming, know it was coming? Were people talking about it, or did it kind of surprise you?
Oh, no, it was well planned. In fact, I'm kicking myself because we were in Tahrir Square, which is, of course, the square that is sort of the heart of the revolution.
Right.
And they were handing out flyers when we were there. for this next sort of protest. Well, of course, it turned out to be the largest protest in the history of the world, with over 30 million people taking to the streets demanding the overthrow of Mohammed Morsi and the Brotherhood. And, to be honest, Carl, I wish I had stayed. I wish I'd been part of that. Yeah. But, unfortunately, you schedule these things ahead of time, and the Lord's sovereign, so we entrusted to Him. But, yeah, it was clear that, and in fact, the church has been praying, and the church knew they had been given prophetic words. They knew that this was about to take place. The Lord had really revealed it to His church there in Egypt.
Wow. That is amazing stuff. Do you have any insight as to the Obama administration's reaction to this Muslim Brotherhood bloodbath that's getting ready to come at the hands of the Egyptian government, where they're going to put 529 of them to death? That's got to be some kind of record for a civilized, established government to put that many people to death at once. Probably some kind of a record. But what do you know about the Obama administration's reaction to it?
Yeah, well, first of all, I'll just say this. In all likelihood, they won't put them all to death. It's sort of, they're putting on a show. I mean, it could surprise me and do that, but most of them will be appealed and this sort of thing. But with regard to the Obama administration, I probably need to be careful, but I have friends that are, I have one friend in particular who, he was one of the primary interrogators for terrorists that were coming into the country, for, one of the primary departments there. One of the best assets the United States had, and, his job was to write up reports for various Muslims that were in the country who had openly stated that their goal and their mission was to overthrow the government. Now, a lot of people don't realize this is part of Islamic theology, which is to say that they need to put out essentially their vision or mission statement somewhere. Now, it may be on some obscure Arabic website, in Arabic, of course, but he would find these statements, and so he had reports on all these Muslim Brotherhood operatives that were living in the United States.
Right.
Well, eventually the mandate came down that he was to essentially sanitize about a dozen reports, and so, this is from his higher-ups. So he had to literally remove this information from the reports, and all of these individuals were promoted, literally. I mean, this is not conspiracy theory. This is absolute fact. They have been promoted to consulting and policy-making positions in the American government, in the Obama administration. And, of course, we can name several of them. Right. A lot of people are aware of them. But they are clearly jihadi, Islamist individuals that have now been elevated to positions of authority in the U.S. government. There's a huge court case that's going on sort of under the radar, and we're hoping that this whole thing will be blown wide open, and we need to pray that it will be. But at the present time, we're in a bad place, Carl.
I know we are, Joel. I've been screaming this. I've been blowing Carl's trumpet for years now about this, especially since the Obama administration has been in office, but even before then, because some of this started with the Clintons, and maybe before, but I know the Clintons, and the Bushes certainly didn't seem to do anything to hold back the tide. I tell you what, Joel, this is so fascinating. I've got so many questions, and perhaps we'll have some callers that want to ask you questions as well. Joel Richardson is my guest. He is a New York Times bestselling author and a prophecy, an internationally recognized prophecy expert and Middle East expert. Joel, thank you so much for being a part of the show today.
Good to be on with you, Carl.
It's always great to have you on, Joel. Joel, let me ask you, we were talking about the Muslim Brotherhood involved. And by the way, let me say to Glenn, who was listening, if you're still listening, God bless you, my man. I don't know what happened, but we blew you up. So try to get back on if you can. All right. But anyway, Joel, Muslim Brotherhood infiltration in the American government, you said we're in a tough spot. Let's just talk about this a little, because I want to get on to Iran and what's going to happen next with them. But, Joel, I know that the Clintons brought Abedin in, and she was working in the White House for Hillary Clinton, and she has deep ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Then she turns around and marries a Jewish congressman by the name of Anthony Weiner, which I suppose if she's really, involved in Muslim Brotherhood, unless she's got something nefarious going on, that would be a death sentence for her. But I see this stuff, and now we've got Muslim Brotherhood people in the government, and the Obama administration seems to kowtow and cater to these people. What's going on, Joel?
It's funny. Among prophecy watchers and experts, people are always asking, why is it that in the Bible in the last days, America doesn't seem to feature centrally? And usually the answer that most people arrive at is they say, well, we get taken out, assume that we get hit with a, whatever, an EMP or who knows. But the fact of the matter is, that's certainly possible, but it's also quite possible that we simply are out of the picture because we are so hamstrung by multiculturalism and by all of these things that we simply sit it out. We're being advised by those that are literally our enemies that want to destroy us. We have embraced a worldview which literally rolls out the red carpet for our enemies, and we're seeing it take place right now.
I know. It's absolutely amazing. And I've been saying for years, along with you and many others, political correctness is killing us. We're allowing it to infiltrate and infest the way we think, the way we live, who we are as Americans. And it's going to be our demise, people. I'm telling you, unless people stand up to it. He said, well, how do we do that? Well, if you want, use me as an example. I'm not a perfect example. I'm not trying to say I'm the savior in this, but you've listened to me for years. I don't give one iota about political correctness. I know Joel doesn't either. I mean, Joel and I were raised to be polite, and to be courteous, but I call it like it is, and I don't care. I refuse to be politically correct. Joel, you're kind of the same way, aren't you?
Yeah, unfortunately,
yeah.
I wasn't raised to be polite, so
okay.
So I'm still working on that.
Okay, well, I was, and I try to be polite. In other words, I don't call people ugly names, but I refuse to kowtow to political correctness. By the way, I'm going to ask Mallory, who straightened out this mess I created and blew the phones up. Mallory, would you bring Glenn on so that he can talk to Joel, and I'll keep my hand off the buttons here. Glenn, you've got a question for Joel Richardson. Go ahead and shoot your question.
Yeah, I'm actually two things. One has to do with the prophecies that have to do with the coming Mahdi seem to, in large part, center around Syria. And I was wondering if Joel talk about a little bit about what it means that now we have this troop buildup on the Ukrainian border with Russia. Yeah. It seems to maybe be a diversion so that we can go into Syria. That was the first question. Just,
okay. Well,
how it pertains to the Mahdi.
All right. Let's let him answer that, Glenn, because we're running out of time, and that's really an important question, and I know he can answer that. Joel, go ahead.
Sure. Well, let me just say that the Mahdi is Islam's primary Messiah figure, and according to their prophecies, their sacred traditions, he's all over the place, and in fact, he eventually sets up his seat of authority, the seat of the global, what's called the caliphate, in Jerusalem. That's according to their prophecies. Of course, the Bible says the Antichrist will set up his seat of authority on the Temple Mount. But with regard to Syria, there's also a secondary end-time figure that it's little discussed. I don't even discuss it in my book, Islamic Antichrist, but he's a character known as the Sufyani. And the Sufyani, according to Islamic prophecy, is a precursor to their Mahdi. And they believe that he's a leader that would come out of Syria. Now, if you simply go on Google and type in Sufyani and Assad, you'll see that in a large number of these discussion boards, these Muslims believe that Assad, Bashar Assad, president of Syria, is the Sufyani. And so all of these jihadis that are going to Syria right now, they believe that they are in the last days. And they believe that prophecy is being fulfilled right now, and they believe that as soon as they take out Assad, that's going to usher in the coming of their Mahdi. So, Christians wonder, are we in the last days? For a lot of Muslims, they believe that we are in it right now, and that's motivating much of these foreign fighters that are coming from all over the world to Syria.
Yes, and you know what, Joel? Isn't it amazing? The Orthodox Jews also believe that we're living in very prophetic times, and they believe that who they're looking for as Messiah is soon to be on his way. And now you've got the Islamic world believing what you just so eloquently laid out. And, of course, the Christian world. We're not setting dates and times, but, we see the prophecies unfold before us. You take the Bible in one hand and the newspaper in the next, and there it is. So these are very spiritual times in which we live. And you and I know the Scriptures, and we know that there's something going on in the heavenly realms, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.